Hello everyone. In this video, we will talk about application discovery pattern. So in our last video, we have already seen infrastructure discovery pattern. So if you have not seen that video, you can go to my channel and you can search for horizontal discovery pattern. Let's go to discovery patterns under pattern designer. And let's search for Windows OS. So here you can see that Windows OS server is one of the pattern, and the pattern type is infrastructure. So infrastructure discovery pattern is basically used to discover devices such as computers, server, network devices, and so on. Let's click on new here in the discovery pattern table, and here you see there are three types of pattern type: application, infrastructure, and cloud. Cloud resource pattern type is used to discover these devices running on the cloud, such as Azure and AWS. In this video, we will talk about application pattern type. For application pattern type, you have to remember that this pattern runs for both horizontal discovery and top-down discovery, that is service mapping discovery. So this is a very important, you can say, interview question as well, that application pattern runs on both the types of discovery, horizontal discovery, and also on service mapping, that is top-down discovery. Let's name this as iTunes. Here you have to mention CI type. This CI type needs to be same as the CI class. For application, we will use application table. It's CMDB underscore CI underscore application. Now, very important for even interview question as well. Here you see there is a checkbox known as enforce process classification. So when you have to create an association between your pattern and your process classification that you have defined to discover applications, for that you will have to check this enforce process classification checkbox in your pattern record when you're creating your pattern. What we will do in the process classification, that we will see when we will go to process classification right now. So this video is, you can say, an extension of process classification video. So if you have not seen that video, you can go to my channel, you can refer to that video first. That is a prerequisite before you see this video. So there I have explained about what is process classification. We have created a process classification. We have run a discovery schedule. We have discovered application using that process classification. So definitely that is a very informative and very important prerequisite video before you see this video. So please refer to that video and then come back to this video again. So we have checked on enforce process classification here. Click on new in the identification section, name it as iTunes identification section. Here you see we have to mention entry points. So to create connection between the patterns and the port, we need entry points. So for like internal connections, you can use TCP or Citrix. And if you don't know which entry points you have to use, you can just click on all. That's totally fine. So since I know that I have to use TCP endpoint and HTTP, sorry, So I'll use these ones. If you just don't know which entry points to use, it's totally fine to go with all. What is this listening port? So this is a process strategy. Actually, every entry point has a port number. So uh, like HTTP is listed on port 80, HTTPS is listed on port 443. So this is that listening port. So here we do not have to do anything else. Just click on done. And this is it, your pattern is created. We have not added any steps to this pattern yet. First, we will create the association between this pattern and process classification. We will run the discovery schedule. We will see that this pattern is being launched by our discovery schedule during the discovery process. And then we will come and add some steps here to extract some information. This is the reason why we create pattern, right? We create pattern to extract additional information about the device that has been discovered during the discovery. So that we will do uh, later in this video. First, we will just create the association between the process classification and the pattern. We will run the discovery and see if this if this particular pattern is being launched during the discovery process. So let's save it. Okay, another important interview question here. So I'll just take a little bit of time. You have seen that when I just showed you the pattern type, infrastructure pattern type, there were two sections, identification section and extension section. But in the application pattern type, there are three sections, identification section, extension section, and connection section. So very good point of difference to remember. So let's publish this pattern. Now let's go to classifications. Click on processes under CI classification. Click on processes. And here you have your process classifications. Please guys, if you have not seen my process classification video, refer to that video first. Click on this iTunes. We have created this particular classification in that video. So definitely this video is an extension of that video. So to create association between this process classification and the pattern that we have just created, we will scroll down. In the related tab under trigger probes, click on edit. Type horizontal pattern. See, and here mention your pattern. So pattern is iTunes. All right. Okay, so this is how you associate your pattern with your process classification. And you remember when we were creating pattern, we have just checked enforce process classification checkbox there. So perfect. Update this record. Let's run the discovery schedule. Let's move to discovery schedule. We will run a quick discovery here to ensure that the pattern that we have created is being launched. So here you see I have already given the IP address, the range. So just click on Discover Now. So if you have any doubt related to discovery schedules, please check videos on my channel. I have already listed a lot of videos now related to only scheduling the discoveries. So I'm sure if you will just go there, all your doubts will be cleared of how to schedule a discovery. So in the status, we will keep refreshing until the state is being shown as active. Till then, let's talk about Sesame Probe. So here you can see during the port scanning phase, the Sesame Probe is sending so many protocols. We can narrow down the number of protocols being sent by the Sesame Probe by using behaviors. So if you know that you have only a particular specific device to be discovered, you can use a particular behavior that will send only the protocol that is required to discover that device. So if you have not seen my videos on behaviors, please refer to the videos on my channel related to the topic behavior. I am talking about it here right now because I'm just waiting for my discovery status to be completed. So it is completed now, and you can see here that our pattern that we have just created, iTunes, is being launched. So after the Windows OS server was launched, after classification. So classification phase is responsible for sending the horizontal discovery probe, for sending to decide what pattern needs to be sent. So once it was classified as Windows server, it has sent Windows OS server. Once it has discovered application based on the process classification that we have created, it has again launched the pattern for classification, and this happens in the exploration phase. So here we can see that pattern iTunes is launched. This is what we wanted to check before we create any steps in our pattern. So now let's go back to our pattern and create some steps. Under Pattern Designer, navigate to Discovery Patterns. Search for iTunes. Here it is. So now we will create steps. Okay, why I'm creating steps in the identification section? When I said that identification need not to be touched, that is because this is a new pattern. I'm not messing with the existing patterns identification section. This is what we have created. There are no steps in this pattern. We are going to create those steps now. So before creating any step, we will first enable the debug mode, which is very important. As I've already said earlier in this video, that application pattern runs on both horizontal discovery and top-down discovery. So you will have to select the debug type for which kind of application pattern are you using this. For horizontal, you will have to mention the IP address and the process ID. So for process ID, first let us give the IP address. This is the IP address for which running discovery as well. This is the range that we entered in the discovery schedule. For process ID, okay. So for process ID, you will have to make sure that you use the current process ID. Where will you get the process ID? Our device was Windows Server. So we will go to Windows Server and we will search for this particular IP device. And in the related tab list, there is running processes. From there, we will get our process ID for itunes.exe. So, lot of theory. Let's go and see how we do that. First, let us give the IP address. This is the IP address for which running discovery as well. This is the range that we entered in the discovery schedule. For process ID, okay. So for process ID, you will have to make sure that you use the current process ID. Where will you get the process ID? Our device was Windows Server. So we will go to Windows Server and we will search for this particular IP device. And in the related tab list, there is running processes. From there, we will get our process ID for itunes.exe. So, lot of theory. Let's go and see how we do that. So, let's navigate to Windows under servers. So, our device was Windows Server. And we will search for the IP address. This is what we are working on. Okay, yes, this is our device that we have just updated during discovery. And here under the related tab list, you see running processes. Click on running processes. You can see PID, process ID is mentioned here. For what name we have to search process ID? itunes.exe. So here is your itunes.exe. You can see there is a comma, 2,444. We will not use comma when we are enabling the debug mode. We will just write 2444. So sometimes this process ID gets changed. So it is very important when you are running the debug mode or when you are enabling the debug mode, you come here and for the current process ID. So let's go and add 2444 to the process ID. And then connect. So your debug mode is on. Okay, so we will extract name, version, and vendor information through this pattern. So we will create steps to extract information of name, vendor, and version through this pattern. So first, let's name the first step as collect application name, WMI query, in the namespace. Remember, if you click on drop down, nothing will come. We have to click on get data. Now, if you click on drop down, you will get your options. So we will select root CIMV2, table name, win32 underscore product, and field. So remember, we need name, version, and vendor. So select name, select vendor. So please note when I selected nothing, okay. So this get full statement has nothing written over here. As soon as I'll click on the name of the fields, name, you can see name is added here, vendor, version. So you have all three here. So you do not have to worry about the code. It is getting written by itself. Okay, you just have to select the fields that you need to um, need from this pattern. So whatever data you need to extract using this pattern, you just select the field name. And now we will mention the target table, and our target table is going to be the application table. Why is this giving me details on its own? So our target table is application table. So as soon as I selected the application table, you see there is a plus sign here. How to get rid of that? You can just either click on the backspace or the tab button and it will go away. So now we have created our first step. Congratulations. Let's test our step. So when we are creating steps in pattern, it is very important and it is mandatory. It should be to test your steps one by one. So let's click on test. And in this way, you will know that you are being able to extract information using your pattern. And you see, test successfully completed. And these are all the informations that you are getting about your application. Perfect. So now we will add another step. Let's go to step number 2. So let's name this step as filter table and the operation as filter table. So about what operation I'm using, why I am using. So I've talked about the theory of the operation types in my horizontal discovery pattern video already. So this video is basically more of practical video. So I will not talk about the theory why I'm using what kind of operations. So you can refer back to that video. You can search for horizontal discovery pattern video in my channel and you will get all the theory related data on what are the operation types, which operation type is used for what. So here we will just concentrate on creating steps. CMDB CI application. Get rid of your plus sign. And the target table is also CMDB CI application. And conditions. So condition will be CMDB CI application brackets dot name contains items. So let's test our second process. The test is successfully run. Close it. Let's create another step. In this step, from now we will just set the application name, set vendors, set version. Okay, so for that we will use set parameter value, which is the one of the most common operation that is used. So set application name. Perfect. Set parameter value. Perfect. Why I'm using dollar sign again and again? So very important. I'm using dollar sign again and again because we want dynamic values and not hard coded values. Since these values keep changing, we want our pattern to work even when the values change. So we will try to use the dynamic value. This is also something which is very important for interview questions as well. And I've also talked about it when I was talking about values and talking about the theory of operation type that we will use. We will try to always use dynamic value instead of hard-coded value. And this is what I meant. So I'm using dollar sign here because of that. So primary host name, CMDB, application dot name, name plus sign. Actually, I just need name. So perfect. Let's test this step. So you see, you get the name and your value. So test run successfully. Next step, we will set vendor. So set name and vendor now. Set vendor name. Set parameter value. CMDB vendor plus application vendor. Get rid of the plus, either backspace or tab, and test. So here we should get the vendor name using this step. Perfect. And now last step. We will set version name. Set version name, operation, set parameter value, send to the vendor. You will not get this the way I'm getting. If I would not have got something to select, I would have definitely written it. So since I have done it so many times now, so it is showing me the options like this. Okay, so it's not common that you get these. And see, selected vendor, I have to select version, not vendor, my bad. Version, yes, version. This one. And get rid of the addition. Let us test the final step, and we are getting the version here. So we're getting all the details that we need here. Now we will run the discovery schedule and see if we get these informations in our record of iTunes under the application table. So let us save this. and publish it. So what I mean to say is, let me show you in the application table. Okay, so in the application table, after discovery schedule was run, when we created the process classifications, in the process classification video, we saw that ITOM was discovered. Okay, so here there is no information about version and vendor. So through these steps in the pattern that we have just created, we want these informations to be shown here in this record, in the application table, in the iTunes record. So before that, since we have already created our pattern is already associated with process classification, we need to synchronize the updated pattern with our mid server. Let's go to mid server first. This UI action, pattern sync to mid. So here, when you click this, it will start syncing your updated pattern with the mid server so that mid server can use this during the discovery process. So this takes some time. Now let's go to discovery schedule, and we will run discovery for the IP range that we were working on, that is 198.51.12.119. Click on discover now. Click on the discovery status. Let's click on refresh until the state is being shown as completed. So classification is already done, and classification has sent the first probe, which has launched the pattern Windows OS server, because the device that was discovered was Windows Server. This is all we have seen. Application dependency mapping started. Our pattern iTunes is launched. And the state is being shown as completed. So this is all that we need to know about application pattern that we have covered in this video. I've tried to cover all small details and interview questions that are important related to this particular topic. I hope you found this video informative enough. So now let's go to application table and see that our iTunes record has been updated by the pattern that we have created or not. We have just run the discovery. Let's search for iTunes, and here you can see that vendor and version both are updated in the iTunes record. So this is all for this video. I hope I have added some value to your learning. We will see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching.